G'day team, it's James Smith, aka the Tattoo Butcher, and today I'm going to be using a New Zealand Silver Fern Farms grass-fed lamb leg. I'm going to be boning it, rolling it, putting it on the rotisserie, and also pointing out some of the retail cuts that you can get in store. To get started, all we're going to need is a nice sharp knife. I'm using a 5-inch butcher's boning knife today, which is really good for getting into those small bones in our lamb leg. So the first cut that we're going to do, we're actually going to remove the lamb shank from our leg. We can leave it in when we bone it and roll it all together, but I find cooking it low and slow style is the best option for the shank. So for our first cut, we've got a heavy white mark just inside here. That's where our joint sits, and basically once we make a nice cut into that, all we need to do is do a circle all the way around following that line. Once we've made that mark, we can kind of just wiggle our knife through and take that joint out, and we've got our lamb shank just like that. So we're going to keep that lamb shank for a separate day and cook it low and slow style. Next steps, we're just going to take any excessive meat that are hanging off and this little piece here, we're just going to square that up. Okay, so when we roll a lamb leg, we want it all to be even and consistent size, so we don't want any excessive pieces, just so it cooks evenly. Next cut we're going to make is we're just going to make a nice mark just up along our H-bone here with the tip of our knife. Okay, so when we're boning anything, we want to make sure that the tip of our knife is hard on any bone. We don't want to come off that bone and slash into our meat. And then we're just going to follow that bone around. So all we did, mark that, and then we've come just down the side there. Okay, so that frees things up and opens things up a little bit so we can see where we're cutting. So now we've cleared down there, we've got a ball and socket joint that just sits inside of our H-bone there. And we just need to, again, we're just going to clear a little bit more away just so we can see where it is. You can actually see it popping out. All we need to do is stick our knife just behind that and kind of wiggle past it. This is the hardest part to get right, so take your time. You can see there I've kind of freed it up now. I've popped that joint out, I've cleared down the sides. Now all I want to do is continue to follow this bone all the way around until we remove it. So as long as we stick hard to the bone, we're going to be keeping pretty safe and not ruining any of that good stuff. So that's our hardest bone to remove. So basically once we've taken this one out, we're on the home stretch and everything else is pretty smooth sailing. Now our second and last bone starts here and finishes there. So we know that it runs from there to there. Okay, we've got a nice straight line that basically we need to follow to take this bone out. Okay, so our top side sits here. We're just going to run down the side of that muscle. Again, I'm using my dagger grip, which is a butcher's grip. If you guys want to use a normal standard grip, that's more than fine. It's just what's comfortable for me. Cool, so we've marked that top side down the side of the bone. Now we can really see it. So all we need to do now is we want to clear the top and then clear down the side. Cool, so once we've cleared down those two sides, we're just going to go back behind the bone. That's all that's holding it on now. Cool, and making sure that we leave as much meat on the actual lamb leg itself and not on the bone. Now we have a little knuckle that sits in here. Basically, imagine it the little kneecap that sits on top of that leg. We just need to remove that. Take that piece out, no good for eating, and we're pretty good. All our bones are done now, taken out. Now we can start trimming our lamb leg and getting it ready to roll. One of the crucial pieces that we need to take out is a gland, and that sits just under the top side. So that sits just in here where this heavy fat is. So what we do is we get the tip of our knife and we just kind of seam that out. Try not to slash into things. You guys get a little bit of meat there, make a pile. Keep it for sausages, keep it for making patties, anything like that. I always like to keep a nice little freezer bag in my freezer, and basically I just store that with any excessive trim that I get from any cuts that I do at home. So we're utilizing all those cuts. So like I said, we can make patties, sausages or burgers or whatever we want. So now we've trimmed up our lamb leg, we've taken out the bones, we can really start to see the muscles. So when we look at our boneless lamb leg, we look at the muscles that are inside of it. If we look at the end here, this is where our rump sits. So it's like a triangle shape. We're not going to take it off because obviously we're rolling it, but it basically sits inside here. So if we look at our retail packs and compare where these cuts come from, lamb rump sits right at the end there. The rest of the cuts, we have our knuckle, We have our silver side that basically sits just inside here, and then we have our top side, okay? So those are used for our medallion cuts and also our lamb leg steaks in our retail packs, which you can find in store at all good supermarkets. Before we start rolling it, we want to make sure our rolled lamb leg is going to be even. If we roll it up now, we see that we've got obviously a fatter end at one end and a skinnier end at the other. So that's obviously going to cause for an inconsistent cook. One end's going to be overdone, one end's going to be underdone. So to solve this problem, we do what's called butterflying when we roll the roast. So we're going to butterfly the top side, which is basically just cutting it in half and spreading the meat to the other side. So as you can see there already, it's looking a lot more even than it was originally. And then basically we go through and we just want to make sure that our ends are all square. So again, we don't have one end that's hanging over and going to grill faster. So we square up the tip. We just make sure that it's going to work out and be nice and even. We roll it up and we can see right there that we're nice and even now, and that's going to cook really nice and consistently. Because I'm stuffing it also, I like to butterfly this top piece out, kind of spread it out. It creates like a bit of a pocket for your stuffing that you're going to use and makes life a little bit easier when rolling. So the stuffing that we're using today is an apricot, bacon and onion stuffing, and it's just a dry stuffing mix with dried apricots, fresh bacon and onion sliced and diced mixed together. It comes out really nice and fits really well with our rolled lamb leg. Alrighty guys, so we've boned, we've trimmed and we've stuffed our lamb leg. Now we're ready to roll and tie it. So if you guys are looking for a good tying method, how to tie a butcher's knot, head over to the Tattoo Butcher YouTube channel and check it out for yourself. Otherwise we're going to get stuck in and start tying this roast. Cool, so now that we've boned, rolled, stuffed and tied our lamb leg, we're ready to chuck it on the rotisserie. And basically I want to cook this for 1 hour on a medium to high heat. Obviously we're cooking with coal, so we can't really measure that temp too well unless we use a thermometer, but it's usually around an hour to cook one of these lamb leg roasts. While my lamb leg's cooking, I always like to add a little bit of lemon juice, olive oil, garlic and brush with rosemary, just to give it that extra bit of crispiness and flavour. So now that our lamb leg has reached its ideal internal temperature, which is 65 to 70 degrees, we've removed it from the grill, placed it down, and we're going to rest it for a good 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're ready to slice and ready to serve this delicious piece of meat. Cool guys, so that's my version on boning, rolling and cooking my lamb leg on a rotisserie. I hope you guys enjoyed it. For more amazing recipes, check out Silver Fern Farm's website.